Hello everyone and welcome to the Power BI quiz where I have Melissa as the co-host and quiz maker of the show. Hello Melissa, how are you?
I'm doing well. How
Fine,
are
thank
you?
you. Thank you. Yeah, it's around it's 8 here in Europe time. How which time is it for you?
It is 2 p.m. for me on the East Coast in the US.
Nice. And people, can you please write in the chat where are you from and where are you located? See where we have people from. Some people say they can't hear me.
Oh, I can
Can't
hear
hear
you.
you. Just say hello. Can you hear me? Please. Yes, someone said we can hear you fine here. Perfect. Then I will continue.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry for the interruption, but Melissa, now we have this subject today, and I must say, I actually ask you if you want to deliver a quiz on this particular subject, but why is it that it is so important for you around enterprise deployments?
So I love everything about Power BI when it comes to how are we going to deploy the content for people around the organization. And that's actually a good point to make that when I use the word deployment, I don't mean necessarily dev test prod kind of deployments, right? From an IT perspective, I mean publishing content for use by others around the organization, but governing it, securing it, and doing all this really effectively. So I'm actually an oddity in the Power BI community. I don't go extremely deep on DAX and the development side. I am much more about how do we empower those people to do what they need in an
So
effective
this
way.
is also your day job, going out to, I believe, big organizations and helping them implement.
It is my day job. Yeah, I found myself focusing more and more on this exact thing the last couple of years. And considering the data platform has gotten so wide, I know all of us are feeling the pace of change and how much there is to learn. It's become this natural evolution for me to kind of specialize in this area for the time
Yeah,
being,
and
at
you
least.
were independent just recently, in a year or two ago.
Yeah, just had my 1 year anniversary. So life is grand.
Congratulations to that, you.
Thank you.
So yeah, and the whole quiz today is around this white paper you have written for Microsoft. It's a pretty big white paper. How come you got into this, writing a white paper for Microsoft?
Well, yep, got to blame Chris Webb for that. So he was looking for a co-author version one, and that was 3+ years ago. So it's been through three versions now, and it's about doubled in length during that course of time. It would be wonderful if we can get it out of PDF form onto a web form, but that's actually harder than it seems. And so that's why with this most recent revision, the collective decision was let's just get the content updated, and that's the most important thing. But yeah, it's turned into a real beast, and we recognize that for
Oh yeah,
sure.
but it's a really good white paper. I use it a lot when I go out to organizations because I love the drawings. It's so easy to go and show people. Oh, this is how you do self-service. This is enterprise. This is if you want to make some integration into embedding and stuff like that. I just love these drawings and figures. I'm using it a lot.
Awesome. Yeah. And my favorite is, one time I landed a brand new customer. I'm standing at somebody's cubicle talking to him about something, and I look over and I see the printed white paper sitting there, and I'm like, oh, looky there. And they're like, oh, that's you. Wow.
Yeah,
And so, that happens every so often, which is super fun.
nice. So yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, welcome to the show. Nice to have you here. Next up, I've just announced the prizes for the quiz today. We have this grand prize, which is a gift card of $100 to Lego.com for the winner, the person who ends on the top of the podium today. And then we have the raffle prize. It is again this week a voucher for 1 month free access to Red Academy, greatly sponsored by Reza Red. And it was actually also the same price last week. And next we will then have a look at the prices, or actually just start up here and take a look at the white paper where you can find it. I'll just post the link one more time. There's a short link for this in the chat here. So this is the white paper where I can go in. You can probably not read it all before the end, but Melissa will have some great references after each with page numbers where you can find information on the specific. So yeah, please go and check out the white paper. And now for the prices. We have Red Academy 1 month free membership where you can find a lot of content, not only on Power BI but also on other subjects where you can find training and other great resources. There are 200 hours of video courses here that you will have free access to in 1 month if you win the raffle prize. And then if you are the winner of the grand prize, you will get a voucher or gift card to lego.com where you can buy something for yourself or maybe something for your little ones. And there's really great stuff in here, so you can probably pick something. And then let's have a look at the attendees from last week, where we will now pick a winner of the raffle prize. But we can see that Donald Paris ended on top last week with 7 out of 10 correct answers, just ahead of Reta and Power BI, Markus Winkner, I believe it is. And so you can see I have assigned every attendee here a random index number. I used a M function for, or DAX function for this. And Melissa, will you pick a number between 1 and 40?
I say lucky number two.
Let's have it there and go drill through. So yeah, congratulations to Jay Kausik for winning, and I believe it is a Twitter handle, so it will be easy to find you. If you're not part of this quick, I will reach out to you on Twitter and give you the voucher for Red Academy. Once again, congratulations to you. And now for the quiz. Before we start, just have some intro here that you will see the questions on your monitor, and then you will go to kahoot.it on your mobile device or a secondary screen of some kind. I will strongly suggest this, so you have 2 different screens to answer and see the questions. Then you will put in a pin that I will give to you shortly, and then you should also put in your nickname and use your full name or Twitter handle, something that we can identify you if you win the raffle prize and it's not part of the quiz next week. And then you should be aware we have this 3 to 5 seconds delay. That means you will actually see the answer of its options before you see the question, and also means on the other hand that you will see if you have a timer on 20 or 30 seconds, you will not have all time, so you should answer before it runs out, because if you don't answer before it runs out, you won't get any points for this. You will start with just 1 startup questions. You get no points for this, but just to get you started and trying Kahoot if you haven't tried it before. And then we'll have the 10 real questions that Melissa created for us around enterprise deployment. And just be aware you're getting more points the faster you answer. So, but then on the other hand, if you answer incorrectly, you won't get any points. And lastly, you should be aware that all results are posted publicly in a actually public Power BI report that you can go and find on my website, justbe.dk. So with that, let's head over to the quiz. And let's just start it. So here we have it, and we have Benny, Andy, Alice, and Andy is saying 3 in a row. I believe it's because he was the first joining the quiz, and the 3rd time in a row. And we have 29 players joined here. Let's see if we can get more people joining. And you can always join us also after the first question. The game pin will be in the top. Let's just give it a couple of seconds more. Yeah, 3-1. And let's just get in and let it start. So here we have the first question. Just to get an idea of where you are placed in the world. This is a global quiz, but yeah, we don't get that much attendees from Australia because it's 5 a.m. in the morning, and also Asia. But let's see. Yeah, no one is placed in the morning. That actually surprised me because I saw that we had Matthew Rudge joining. I believe he's in West Coast time, which is 11 a.m. Yeah. But then we are evenly on the other end. So some is the afternoon, evening, and in the night. And I believe night, that's probably in India. And afternoon is the US, and evening is in Europe. So pretty evenly. So let's start with the first question where you are awarded points. Yeah. So this is a multi-select question, so if you haven't tried it before, you should be aware that you have to press submit in the button. I believe it's called. So when you have put in your options, you should finalize sending the answer. And you can choose 1, 2, 3, or 4. You don't know how many are correct here. So you have 60 seconds to this one. Unfortunately, I'm missing an option for 45 seconds in this Kahoot. I can only choose 30 or 60. 45 will be better, but 30 can also be too short.
Yeah, I wanted 45 when I was choosing a couple of them, but...
So let's see.
Longer's better for the first one.
So.
Okay. So, number 3, so the Power BI Premium Content Services, that's a fake one. That's not a real thing. But the other 3 are absolutely valid options for where you might deploy content focused on, where do you want the consumer to go get content from. So the first one, the Power BI service, that's our default choice with the most features and functionality. Number 2, report server is usually most appropriate if you have an existing reporting services investment. And the last one, embedded in a custom application, is prevalent when you want to bring your reports into where users do their work. So in the white paper, if you go to section 3, starting on page 34, there's a discussion about architectural choices like these.
Yeah, this is a really important part of it, building an architecture to choose where you should deliver it. And you can also choose a mix if you want.
True.
Probably not.
True.
Yeah, probably you will choose either Power BI service or Power BI report server, but that could be some cases. Let's see who is on top of the podium. And we have Benny on top. Benny won the quiz 2 weeks ago. And Nexus also one of the previous winners. And also Les has won the quiz. And Donald Paris has won the quiz. Anonymous, I don't know who it is. So let's see. Let's have the next question, which also is a multi-select. So which ways can a consumer view reports and dashboards in the Power BI service? So this is on the Power BI service. And again, 1, 2, 3, or all 4 could be correct. And for latecomers, you can always go to kahoot.it and put in this game pin. And now we got the answers. Yeah, this was a tricky one.
All right. Yeah, so all 4 of them are absolutely valid. So the 4th one is the one that I thought would be trickier, but turns out the shared with me menu is the least chosen one. But the real reason that I added this question is because I wanted to kind of offer something for you to think about, which is looking at apps first for delivery of content because it's the nicest user experience. You might look at workspaces as your second choice if the user is allowed to see everything that's in the workspace. Sharing is useful sometimes, but it should be your third choice, not your first choice, and never shared from my workspace or your personal workspace for really critical content that's really valuable to others. That 4th one, the direct URL link, it certainly does work, but it's not a very good user experience, so I wouldn't imagine that you would frequently use that for consumers. Something new that we added to the most recent version of the white paper is a little decision tree on using apps, workspaces, or sharing, and you can find that on page 157.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Let's see the podium. So here you could actually win 4,000 points, and now we have Anonymous in the top, and then Tandy Smithberg, and so on. Let's have the next question. This is true and false. It's around when you publish or republish an app, or when you republish an app. Yeah. And here you only have 20 seconds because it's a true and false. So speeding it a little up. Oh.
All right, so the reason I put this in is because it is kind of a misconception. It would be true if we're talking about reports and dashboards that don't affect the user or the user doesn't see it until you republish. But the obstacle with using app as production, so to speak, and the workspace underneath as development, so to speak, is that the data set changes always take effect right away. So, that's why the answer to this one is false. So since data set changes always take effect right away, that means if you're messing with your calculations, your relationships, etc., you can absolutely break the reports and dashboards that are already published to the app. Also keep in mind that all items in an app are always republished, right? And so if you're working on 3 report changes, 2 are ready to go, but 1 isn't, what do you do about republishing, right? And content itself and permissions are both always republished together. So if you have work in progress, right, those couple things can be a problem. So on this topic, if you refer to page 165 in the white paper, that talks a little bit about the challenges of using an app as production. And basically what it's doing is it's leading into a conversation about using separate workspaces, which starts to insulate production from all of these kinds of things. So
Yeah.
More people got tripped up by that one than I expected. So I feel good about myself.
Yeah, I'm also surprised here. Let's see if it changes the leaderboard. It might have. Yeah, we have Tandy Smedberg on top. But it's really close here in the top. So let's. Yeah, and Chu is saying that's kind of confusing. Yeah, and it is that some changes are and some changes are not. So yeah, if you want to be.
The way I easily remember it is think about a data set refresh. We for sure want the updated data to be reflected in the app, right? But the side effect of that is that all the structural changes go along with that too. So that's kind of the trade-off, at least the way as I see it, because I don't understand it from the engineering perspective behind the scenes. But that's how I keep it straight in my head anyways.
Good explanation, yeah. Let's get to the next question. The fourth question. Multi-select again. So which ways can we reduce duplication of datasets? And again here, that could be one right answer, two right answers, three, or all four. And if you answer just one of them incorrectly, if there's one that's incorrectly or more than one that's incorrectly, then you are not awarded any points. So you can play safe, or you can try and score all the points. So 10 seconds left. Benny says, play hard or don't play. Yeah. Yeah, most people got this one correct.
Yep. Good deal. Good deal. So anybody that has heard me talk before has probably heard me get a little preachy about this topic. So one of the biggest things that new authors do is create a data set for every Power BI file that they work with. And before you know it, you've basically got the equivalent of a data set per report. And so the data warehousing background in me, gets a little nervous about that kind of paradigm. So the proliferation of data sets is one of the things that as you get more mature in your Power BI deployment, teaching those Power BI authors, and I don't mean just IT or your centralized BI team, I mean the business user authors. They can absolutely take advantage of this, right, to reduce extra work, reduce inconsistencies between data sets. It even reduces the number of queries sent to source systems. And if you're maintaining calculations, business rules, row level security, right, start maintaining it once or at least fewer times. So the whole idea behind that is the notion of shared data sets, at least inside of the Power BI service. And so page 159 in the white paper talks about the advantages and the disadvantages of using shared data sets and really starts to talk about the recommendation of decoupling your report development experience from your data set development experience. And the guidance docs that the Power BI CAT team has been putting out has a really nice article on that topic as well. And then also going into page 160 shows a workflow for how you might use shared data sets.
Nice, yeah. And people are also sometimes referring to them as the golden data sets, or at least the shared data set that is used
True.
in many reports.
True.
Yeah, so yeah, 31 was absolutely correctly on the red answer, connecting, and then a little less was right on the other ones. Should we see the leaderboard?
Tandy's nailing it.
Oh yeah, and we have a question actually. When are too many live connections too many? I mean, when should we stop using live connection and duplicate datasets?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a really tough question, right? And some things that are on the roadmap are going to change the decision making that we have there, right? So if you go to the public release plan for Power BI, the notion of saying, I want to do a live connect to a shared data set and bring in a little something extra that I need to add to it, is going to change that and make it to where I think we're going to use the live connections and shared data sets even more in the future than we do now. Because of course now the biggest problem is that if you're going to live connect, everything has to be there that you need, or you can't. But the white paper kind of talks about some trade-offs back and forth, right? Like if you need to maintain it and make changes beyond just some report level calcs and that sort of thing, right? When does it make sense and when does it not make sense?
Yeah, that's a really game changer feature that's coming, and I believe there will be much more information on this in next week's Ignite conference. So it's a free conference, so you can go in and join. It's Microsoft Ignite. Yeah, let's have the next question. And some multi-select and also double points. So which permissions are required to use a shared dataset when creating a new report? And yeah, that could be tricky or maybe easy for some if they have done it recently. But I believe you should have a practical experience for this to figure out the right answer. And I personally look forward to the explanation of these options you have.
Okay. All right. So the first two that are just read permissions, either at the workspace level or the dataset level, neither one of those is enough. So the idea here is around what they call the build permission. And there's two ways you get the build permission. So the first way, and if I start with answer 4 there, the green one, the dataset itself, we can assign it. But we can also implicitly get the build permission if we have workspace permissions where we can edit content, and that would be contributor or above. So contributor, member, admin. So note that the other thing to know about this build permission, and you've seen this probably, even if you don't totally know where it's going over the fence, when you're publishing an app or when you're sharing a report or dashboard, that checkbox that says, do you want to allow someone to create new content, is actually editing the build security permission on the data set. So it's basically read plus build that you end up getting. So 163 of the white paper talks a little bit about the permissions required to use a shared data set.
Thank you. And we have one saying, Microsoft makes it way too easy to grant build permission. And it
sure is.
It is default when you share an app, or is it? Yeah.
Yep. But you got to remember, a lot of those defaults are in place because Microsoft really wants to make it as easy as possible for people to share content with others, right? So then, what we need to do is start figuring out how to educate people if we want them to act differently than that.
That makes sense, yeah. Let's see the leaderboard now. And wow, it changed all 5 on the top, but it's also very close. So now we have T Lanza and top. Let's have the next question. True or false? So here you only have 20 seconds to find out the right answer. Is it true or is it false? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and.
All right. Yep. It's largely the same, but it's not exactly equivalent, right? There's certainly a few little, feature differences, but mostly with this, what I was driving at are things about the deployment itself, right? Such as if you use Power BI Desktop, you can store that Power BI Desktop file in OneDrive or SharePoint, right? That file is versioned and that kind of thing. You don't get the equivalent of that in the Power BI service. The other big thing that I see as a limitation is that if you're using live connection to a shared data set, which is essentially kind of what's happening if you just create a brand new report in the service, right? Then you download that report from the service, the data set always comes with it. And that's not always what you want. And so if you always just create from Power BI Desktop, you will have exactly what you need from the desktop side of things. So page 124 talks a little bit about, let's think about using desktop as our default choice for all report development and really focusing on using the service for sharing and distribution capabilities, at least today, based on, kind of where things stand with it really weighing heavily in favor of desktop for creation purposes.
Yeah, and I also believe that it is publicly that Microsoft have an aim, not on the short run, but in the long run, to make it equivalent. So you would actually be able to do all in the Power BI service that you can do in desktop. And you can say that it's good or it's bad, but probably have something with Mac users to do. that's the answer for Microsoft. Yeah.
It is the Mac users that are shortchanged right now. You're right.
So yeah, that's also a comment in the chat. Let's see the leaderboard. And all 5 in top answered correctly, and so we have the same on top. Let's have the next question. Again, multi-select. So how can we enforce row-level security RLS for data shown on a report? Yeah, be sure to read the answers for your answer.
Yeah, I had to reword this one a couple of times so that I wasn't purposely misleading.
And 10 seconds left.
All right, good. All right, so the first one was not a correct answer, which most everybody got, and the other 3 are possibilities anyways. So row level security, of course, is about using the same report to show different data to different people based on their permissions, right? I can see the East Coast, somebody else can see the West Coast data, that kind of thing. And it needs to be implemented at the data set level. The permissions for a Power BI app don't have an effect because apps are always view only. However, workspace roles do factor in. So if a user has workspace permissions above viewer, row level security will not take effect because they have edit permissions. So it's not going to limit what you can view, if that makes sense. So it's important to distribute your content through either an app or the workspace viewer role if you need row level security. This is also a great use case to start separating your workspaces from data workspaces, separated from report workspaces. And the reason for that is you can allow users that are allowed to publish reports, edit permissions in that reporting workspace, while restricting them to just read and build permissions on data sets over in the data workspace, and row level security still works. So that's kind of a big benefit there. So pages 245 and 246 talks a little bit about securing data at rest.
Yeah. Thank you for the great explanation here on row level security. And actually on this topic, next week we have a quiz with Casper de Jong only on security, not only on row level security, but on security broadly in the Power BI service. So some of the things we're also covering today we will cover next week, but in maybe a greater detail. Let's see the leaderboard. And still have T-Lance 89 on top. So true and false. And you only have 20 seconds. A Power BI administrator could see all the data in non-personal workspaces if they choose to. True or false? And 50-50.
Oh, okay. So the answer is true. So if you go either into the Admin Center, the Workspaces pane, or use the APIs, the administrator can actually see a list of all the workspaces that are in the tenant, even my workspace. Now, they can't access any actual content in anyone's my workspace, but the other workspaces, they can actually edit the workspace permissions. And that's good if they need to jump in and help, right? But it also means that the administrator role is a high privileged role because for either themselves or someone else, they can modify security. So a good reason, to audit security changes, the whole trust but verify kind of mindset there. So in the white paper, page 204 talks a little bit about how the Power BI administrator is a high privileged role.
Yeah, we have some. Did they change the behavior for classic workspaces? Benny is asking.
Well, what I just said is 100% true for the V2 workspaces, and yeah, I might have to double check myself on the original workspace experience and see if that's actually true, because you're right, it is relying more on Office 365 roles. So you might have me there in a little fib.
Yeah.
Gotta double check myself on that one.
But
yeah.
Let's see the leaderboard.
So V2 workspaces is what I meant.
That was just a V2 added there, and let's have the leaderboard now. We have Wishy climbing up and T-Lanza taking a 1,000-point lead now. Let's have the next question. Multi-select. Question number 9. Ways you can embed Power BI reports and dashboards include. And again, multi-select means 1, 2, 3, or 4 answers could be correct. 20 seconds.
All right. So all four are absolutely valid. So the reason I put this in is really mostly to convey how there's a lot of stuff going on with embedding and it can get confusing. So if you're going to start thinking about using this as a way to deliver content, plan to spend a little bit of time really kind of figuring out what all the different options are. So at the high level, there's two paths. One is this no-code embedding path, which is really targeted towards your standard Power BI author. And then there's the REST APIs targeted towards an app developer. But either way, content's first published to the Power BI service and then surfaced elsewhere. So in the white paper, I rewrote the whole section on, hey, what are the different options, and kind of brought it up out of the details somewhat to help people just understand which path they might want to take. So in the white paper, that all starts on about page 51, the discussion of the different ways to embed content.
Yeah, and we had a quiz 2 weeks ago with Ted Pattison only on one of the paths there with 10 questions on the more hardcore side of Power BI, the development side of Power BI. And yeah, I believe the winner won the quiz with 4 or 5 questions correct. Because it was really a tough quiz.
Oh, wow.
Not many people are that deep in Power BI development. But yeah, you have a lot of options here in embedding Power BI reports and dashboards. Yeah. Let's see the leaderboard now. Yeah, so it's a close run before last question. We have 3 people inside 400 points here, and it is a double point question, so you can actually get 2,000 points, so everyone on this list can win. Let's see. True or false? Double points. You have 20 seconds to answer this one. Paginated reports may be published to the service if you have a Power BI report server license. True or false?
I really don't have a good poker face. I can't help it. Oh, Lordy.
Let's see.
All right. False is the correct answer. So this idea of paginated reports can get a little bit confusing. So the paginated reports created from the report builder tool and can be published one of 2 places. One is the Power BI service, but if you have a workspace assigned to premium capacity, not what we said here in the question. If you have a Power BI report server license, you publish to Power BI report server separately from the Power BI service. So page 37 in the white paper talks about the most common premium benefits, one of which is use of paginated reports in the Power BI service. And to confuse things a little more, you also get a Power BI report server license if you have premium. But, putting that aside for the moment.
So, yeah, let's see who won the quiz this week. And let's see the podium. On the 3rd place, Benny with 5 out of 10 correct. Then we have Swadesh with 6 out of 10. And with 7 out of 10, we have, let's see, T-Lancer 89. So congratulations for winning. And thank you for all for attending this quiz. And yeah, just jump back here and say, thank you for being the guest today, Melissa.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
it was a really good quiz and with a lot of learning. So with you can have a lot of references to the white paper. Go and look it up if you haven't already seen it. Yeah, so next week we have Casper de Jong as the guest. It's actually same time as Ignite, but as Ignite is running 48 hours and every session I believe is streamed 3 times. You won't miss anything with also joining this quiz. So hopefully you will see each other next week. And then once again, thank you for taking the time out of a busy calendar, Melissa, and delivering this quiz for us.
Sure thing. Yeah, and good job running all this. And he does a lot of work behind the scenes, y'all. So yeah. So clapping
thank you very
back to
much.
you.
Actually, it's my third community event today. Started up delivering a session in Sydney Power BI user group, and then I was live in person at a user group meeting downtown in my town here, and then this quiz. So yeah, today was just around only community stuff, but I love community stuff and I love doing this. So yeah, thank you very much.